We're writing this big review somewhat out of self-interest. Of all the reasons that people try CBD isolate, MCAS appears to have the best results. Anxiety, sleep, pain, mental health generally all appear in NIH studies, but just look at the reviews on our product page from actual people. We've done deep dives on CBD and histamine, a product of those mast cells, and even CBD and the immune system, both running too hot or too cold. Let's now zero in on CBD and MCAS, more specifically with these topics. We're going to look at a quick intro to MCAS and its many drivers. What is driving MCAS? CBD isolate's role in the immune system, CBD and MCAS research, why the type of CBD matters so much for MCAS, and how much CBD for MCAS. Let's get started. We're going to cover quite a bit and branch out to other reviews for breakout information. If you want to go on a deeper dive with lots of NIH research, check out our guide on CBD and its cousin, PEA, for mast cells. Okay, so to mast cells, let's go. A quick intro to MCAS and its many drivers. MCAS is short for mast cell activation syndrome, different from MCAD or mast cell activation disorder. One involves too much activity or sensitivity, while the other involves too many actual mast cells. We'll use them interchangeably. The key is to understand the role of the mast cell, especially in today's environment, translated dirty and hostile. Mast cells are really part of the immune system. Think of them as forward guards out there to respond to foreign intruders. Bacteria, mold, viruses, chemicals, poisons, anything that might hurt us. Mast cells are roaming arsenals of immune agents just waiting to respond on a hair trigger notice. If the immune system notifies them for action due to some hostile interloper, they release their weapons in response. The primary arsenal are histamine, a powerful allergic response agent, cytokines, inflammatory assassins, heparin, an anticoagulant to cause more flow, to get things out, growth factors, repair agents for after the assault. The big one we're all familiar with from allergic reactions is histamine. We have a huge review on histamine linked below, which also happens to be a powerful neurotransmitter in the brain. Think insomnia, anxiety, repetitive thoughts, and more when it's out of control. The relationship between histamine and GABA, key to sleep, pain, and anxiety, or histamine and serotonin, which is mood, feeling grounded, stress response, is completely fascinating, and we'll cover this below. It's not just about itchiness. Our main focus will be on histamine here, since it's a primary payload of mast cells that drives so much suffering. The cytokines are close second, though, as they're the driver of inflammation. That's pain, redness, mental health issues, gut issues, etc. Longer term, this is real damage. So what is MCAS? Quite simply, our mast cells are hyperactivated. Either they are coming into contact with foreign entities that they should actually be responding to, but they are overwhelmed. We'll get to that below. Or they're overreacting, which is classic allergic response behavior, just much more severe and constant. Either way, it's all about imbalance. Make a note next to that word for CBD below. Imbalance in our immune's response to its environment. That's our body's response. Let's look at what is driving this. What is driving MCAS? Look, it's always nurture or nature. Generally, it's the mixture of both. The nature side's pretty easy in that genes don't change too much. But clearly, MCAS has tracked all the other allergic conditions with a trajectory that is up, up, up over the past decades. MCAS is really a newer umbrella term for overactive immune response since about 2010, but it's clearly prevalent. For example, in a study, Mastoactivation syndrome, MCAS, is an immune disease with an estimated prevalence of 17%. That's almost a fifth of the population is dealing with it. Let's look at clues around allergic reactions, function of mast cells to see if there are any trends. First, food allergies. We look at a study below where it's gone up from roughly 4.6% in 2007 to 22% in 2016 and higher since then. What about autoimmune, a situation where the immune system is incorrectly targeted its own tissue? Yes, that's also tracked up. Of course, autoimmune hits women 8-to-1 relative to men, and we go into why loss of progesterone is such a huge player in another article. This makes sense once you understand that progesterone protects the amniotic sac from their mother's immune system, since it's actually made with father's DNA, so technically a foreign entity. Really fascinating. Progesterone is a powerful calming agent on the immune system, including mast cells. Just a heads up, progesterone drops by 50% by age 40 and continues down from here, leading to a huge swell in all things immune, including mast cells. Clearly, something additionally is driving the increase in how our immune systems, including mast cells, is reacting. What are the probable causes? Goodness, do you have a minute? We're looking at many of these in detail, but a quick synopsis. Pesticides and food additives, hormone mimickers in food, cosmetics, skin products, PFOA and other industrial chemicals, microplastics and plastics in general, reduction in key minerals and nutrients, vitamin D being a big one, interaction with different viruses and infections, the last 6 years, trauma, chronic stress. Any of those foot the bill for you? Yeah, thought so. We are swimming in a sea of mast cell triggers, so it's no wonder that MCAS literally became a new diagnosis. We wouldn't be surprised, especially after the most recent immune situation, if MCAS tracks up for the increase of obesity and diabetes over the next decades or so. It makes perfect sense. We have a huge review on CBD and gut inflammation to dig into some of that. We could and we will spend an entire article on the why of MCAS, but let's turn to potential tools. A pit stop first to the endocannabinoid system. CBD isolate's role in the immune system. Is the whole of CBD buzz just good marketing? Is there an actual scientific basis for its role in MCAS? I'm glad you asked. CBD works by supporting our endocannabinoid system when running low. That's why it doesn't build tolerance like THC or other cannabinoids. Essentially, it works like a feedback mechanism, technically called an allosteric positive modulator. That just means it supports it up when it's running low. This tolerance piece is so important since most tools or medications will cause the body to push back, so your natural pathway gets weaker with time. That's the enemy. Now look, the endocannabinoid system is fascinating. It's tasked with balancing other key systems in the body when they're pushed one way or another. The nervous system, including neurotransmitters like serotonin and GABA and more. The endocrine system, hormones, both steroidal and metabolic. Immune system, ding, 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 hello, cytokines, histamines, and mast cells. The latter one is our focus here. Here's how it should work. Our body comes in contact with a foreign agitator, maybe bacteria, maybe pollen or a bee sting. Maybe BPA from the can lighting or a food coloring or estrogen mimicking chemical or red number 40. You get the picture. The mast cells are called into action to get this potential bad actor out of the body fast. It releases its arsenal of histamine, inflammatory agents. As a result, the invader is neutralized, hence all your coughing, sneezing, diarrhea, skin itching, etc. Now the body can't just keep responding this way. The mast cells must calm back down. Inflammation needs to resolve. Hello, endocannabinoid system. This system is all about bringing key systems like mast cells and immune back to baseline. Simply put, according to an NIH study, endocannabinoids are believed to control immune functions and play a role in immune homeostasis. Homeostasis is just a fancy word for balance. And more importantly, to our discussion, endocannabinoids limit excessive mast cell maturation and activation in human skin. It's another NIH study below that you can click on. MCAS is a state of imbalance where the immune system, meaning mast cells, are on high alert constantly. You might argue that MCAS is really a disease of the endocannabinoid dysfunction. We looked at whether modern diseases reflect the ECS not keeping up with our modern world in a whole separate review. MCAS is just a very noticeable effect from this. We'll leave you below. You can click on CBD and the immune system review. But let's jump right into CBD and MCAS. In terms of research, what does it show? CBD and MCAS research. Here's the beauty of CBD and really the endocannabinoid system it supports. Its effect depends on the state of the system. Take cancer, for example. It's a perfect example of this. Normal cells with low inflammation, CBD has no effect. Normal cells with high inflammation, CBD reduces the inflammation. Cancerous or virally infected cells, CBD will spike inflammation. Now think about that. It's fantastic from our view. The third outcome makes sense once you know that the immune system naturally kills off faulty cells by boosting inflammation, cause cell suicide or autophagy with oxidative stress, a form of inflammation. 3 states, 3 different outcomes, all ones we want. THC, which is CBD's cousin in the hemp plant, is always suppressive, which means long-term it's not great for your health. We want flexibility. So CBD generally causes inflammation when it's high. What about MCAS? This may be our favorite part, why so many people see impressive results. Again, check out the reviews in the product page. We need to introduce your new best friend, MDSC. MDSC is short for myeloid-derived suppressor cell. Stick with us, it's very cool. Simply put, they're the cleanup crew that comes in to calm down mast cell activation. From an NIH study below, myeloid-derived suppressor cells, MVSC, are a heterogeneous population of myeloid cells that are believed to be arrested at an immature state of cell differentiation, meanwhile acquiring potent immunosuppressive function. All right, that's a lot of complicated jargon, but focus on the potent immunosuppressive function. You could argue that mast cells in the MVSC are opposing factors in allergic responses. The MVSC is there to calm things down after mast cells wild things up. In cases where a new system is overreacting, like MCAS, what does CBD have to do with this interaction? Another study below. Together, the results suggest that CBD may induce activation of PPAR in mast cells, leading to secretion of GCSF and consequent NDSC mobilization. Okay, goodness, let's translate that. Basically, CBD interacted with a powerful anti-inflammatory pathway called PPAR to kickstart the mast cell calming response, MCSD. Interestingly, CBD does not do this in states of low inflammation or mast cell activation. That's good. We don't want it to act that way all the time. Another study looked at CBD and pain resulting from mast cell hyperactivation, also called mastocytosis. The standard deviation NRS pain score decreased significantly from 7.27 to 1.35 before treatment to 3.78. So from 7, a little over 7 to half of that, 3.78 after 3 months of treatment. 15 patients, 34% were able to discontinue all their anti-inflammation and pain medications, 34%, a third, just from CBD. So it dropped the pain tied to mast cells by half, which means it's dropping the activity of the mast cells. Because Mast cells release prostaglandins, a key pain signaling agent. We look at CBD and pain in another study below. Some animal studies are finally getting to actual questions of CBD and mast cell activations, such as this one. The intraperitoneal administration of CBD suppressed passive cutaneous anaphylaxis in mice, as evident by a reduction in ear swelling and decrease in the number of degranulated mast cells. All right, please translate. Degranulated just means that the mast cells have spilled out their content. Histamine, cytokines, etc. So CBD reduced that release of that. Net, CBD suppressed antigen-stimulated mast cell degranulation in a concentration-dependent manner. Antigen it's a triggering chemical, right, that sets off mast cells. Concentration-dependent matters because it establishes cause and effect. It says the more CBD, the more it reduces mast cell activation. Let's look at some common symptoms and related issues tied to mast cell activation. CBD mast cells and asthma. Mast cells are a key factor in the development of asthma, contributing both to early and late phases of the disease. We have a whole review on CBD and asthma. And my study CBD treatment decreased the inflammatory and remodeling processes in the model of allergic asthma. What about CBD and mast cell-driven skin irritation? Another study, the anti-inflammatory effect of CBD is demonstrated in several experimental studies and clinical studies. In an in vitro model of allergic contact dermatitis, basically your skin overreacting because of mast cells, CBD demonstrated dose-dependent inhibition of monocyte chemopractin protein 2, which attracts mast cells and macrophages to the site. And other pro-inflammatory cytokines, remember, those get released too. To translate, CBD calms the upstream pathway that causes mast cells to congregate and release. And more importantly, to us as sufferers, an observational study demonstrated that the topical application of CBD gel reduced a patient-oriented eczema measurement score from 16 to 8.1, dropped it in half. The study below, that is the perceived skin irritation, dropped in half. One final piece, the gut. Most of our immune response actually resides and initiates in the gut. We have a huge study on CBD and gut inflammation. This is through the vagus nerve that transmits up to the brain, and we see lots of mental health results from MCAS and resulting inflammation. Don't get us started on histamine for anxiety, insomnia, pain, depression. We have lots of studies. What about CBD and gut inflammation? In the tissues selected for LPS-treated mice and receiving CBD, a significant reduction in mast cell number was observed. That's fantastic. That's in the gut where everything starts. It's our thermostat for inflammation throughout the body. What about CBD and all the inflammatory agents and cytokines that spill from mast cells? Look at CBD and the inflammatory agents called cytokines. Another NIH study, the levels of IL-4, 5, 13, 6, 10, TNF were determined in the serum. CBD treatment was able to decrease the serum levels of all analyzed cytokines except for IL-10. IL-10. Oh, it just happens to be one of the calming cytokines. Remember that repair side, which calms things down? IL-10 is a big piece of that. CBD actually increased it in the face of that inflammation. Again, ton of NIH studies in our big review on MCAS and CBD. Now let's turn to an important point regarding the type of CBD and MCAS. Why the type of CBD matters so much for MCAS. Look, all types of CBD are not the same. All the research we've seen and talked about is on CBD isolate. That means CBD by itself. Full or broad spectrum CBD, which is the bulk of what you find out there, is likely to cause a mess for people with MCAS. You'll see it in the reviews for our study, and we found that when we first tried CBD. All that plant material and the other cannabinoids can and probably will trigger a histamine response we're trying to calm down. We know histamine is a big part of the payload of mast cells. The results we see in reviews are night and day between CBD isolate and full or broad spectrum. Don't take our word for it. Try one of the big brands out there and then try ours, and you'll see night and day differences there. Again, THC is a whole other deal. It's suppressive of mast cells, but it builds tolerance, which means your own natural calming pathways will be further whittled down with time. This is not a long-term solution. We have a big review on CBD versus THC for more info. Interestingly, 75% of people with histamine issues are allergic to THC. That's about a third of the population. Finally, the quality of CBD is critical, especially for systems that are sensitive to toxins and chemical. Hello, MCAS. It must be organically grown hemp in the USA, no China, at FDA-registered farms. It needs to be processed in the US. It has to be third-party tested for no THC, no mold, no other cannabinoids, no pesticides, no heavy metals. Huge deal, and a lot of brands don't test for that. No solvents, no bacteria. We test all our CBD along these lines since we, again, tried 3 of the 4 biggest brands when we first started, and we had the telltale gut issues and other histamine responses. Again, look at the reviews and sort by mast cell or MCAS to see the results. What about the dosage? How much CBD for MCAS? We treat this like our research for drug withdrawals. And we have big studies on that, by the way. The first 10 days are generally the toughest and require a higher amount. Day 11 through 30 carries us out to where our epigenetic changes, which is key to long-term healing, start to reflect a new inflammatory response. Month 2 and beyond depend on how you feel and what the lowest amount you can take. So a potential schedule adjusts according to how you feel. Day 1 through 10, usually you can have higher amounts of like 600 to 800 NGs daily to provide an initial immediate relief and calm response to the immune system. Day 10 through 30, it can drop down to 300 mgs a day. You can break that up into 3 doses of 100 each, which reflects max neurogenesis. Neurogenesis means the brain's changing and repairing. It also kind of speaks to other systems that are adjusting and repairing as well, and 300 seems to be the max for that longer term. Day 31 plus, maybe 100 mgs of the day. Again, it depends on how you feel. Hold the CBD under your tongue up to 60 seconds to boost bioavailability, which can help you save on CBD costs by using less. There are lots of other tools we looked at for MCAS that you can find below. If you're a woman over 40, progesterone is a big one. Get your hormone panel. You need to look at past trauma, infection, and stress, because that basically that raises the immune system reaction in the body longer term. Magnesium, glycamate is fantastic. You need to check out vitamin D levels. Again, medicinal mushrooms might be fascinating to rebalance the immune system. PEA is a cousin of CBD. Sometimes that can be helpful. Reach out with any questions. Mast cells are the canary in the immune system coal mine, with all other aspects of inflammation tied to mental health, aging, the whole spectrum, IBD, IBS, and every other aspect. Calming mast cells is an initial sign that we're making ground. Reach out to us. Let us know if this has helped you, and we'll keep adding new information around mast cells, MCAS, and everything about the immune system.